Council, you know him as someone said Dr. Doomsday. Dr. Cabrera, I just wanted to start you off with a laugh because I know you're going through a lot, and with everything that we're going through, I just can't forget to smile, once in a while.
Absolutely, yeah. Big good morning, my sunshines, Chris and Sabrina.
There you go. So, Doc, the message that we're hearing this morning, and I don't know if this is just you guys are giving us a little pep talk, but a lot of the doctors are saying that we stay shelter in place, we keep doing what we're doing, that, the curve is going to be flattened. What do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so that's fine. I can be Dr. Doomsday. I can be the weatherman that everybody loves to hate. What have you. Just don't kill the weatherman. The main thing with projections, right, is that it's very important to note that projections, especially from epidemiological models, are not meant to predict the future. Mm-hmm. Rather, they describe a range of possible outcomes that are dependent on our actions as a community. They serve as a guide for the community actions to help limit, coronavirus spread. For the government and healthcare planning that, creates a stepwise march in addressing medical and social demands.
Doc, so just real quick, the Physicians Advisory Council meeting tonight, what are we going to be discussing? And if you could just describe, if we're at a crossroads in containing COVID, where are we at right now?
Earlier when we had some of our earlier projections and we really had a lot unknown and we were really just, trying to project the worst possible scenario, the most plausible worst case scenario. It was almost easier then because it was, that we had a trend that was pretty much, following along. But now there's a lot of ups and downs or noise, as I would, add to it, as we're trying to recalibrate things based on the new data that we've had even just over the past week. And because of that, there's right now, I would say a larger degree of uncertainty, especially over the next probably several weeks, going into May. And what I'll say is that we're adjusting our worst plausible, case scenario, and that's looking a little bit better. Right. And our trajectory right now is, I would say, optimistically better. Right. It's away from the worst case plausible, which is good. But, it's like the same thing as saying, we know there's a super typhoon that's, several hundred miles away or 1,000 miles away, and it was raining. It was raining yesterday and it's sunny today. But doesn't change the fact that the storm is off our shores.
Right. Doc, I'm team Cabrera. You know what I mean? I'm with you. I think that I think our people are in a place like we understand what we have to do. You know what I mean? We're not, looking for hope. We're in this for the long haul, and I think everybody's kind of on the same page. And, in your defense, you're right. The projections you provided, they were a range. And then one of them is if, we did nothing, and then the other was if we did everything that the governor said. But I think what's dangerous for me and is people talking about these trajectories and, kind of saying, oh, yeah, we leave those numbers, because I feel like even the most conservative estimate is still something that Guam has never, ever dealt with. The most conservative estimate, the loss of life in the most conservative estimate, we can't be saying, oh, it's not going to be that bad. Only 700 people are. We just can't be saying that. Yeah. It's that's where
even
I
if
feel,
it was 10, it's still terrible.
one.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the thing is that with in this scenario, we look at how things are. Let me back up here and just say that the one thing that we have to really understand is that our actions today don't really reflect in our numbers and our data until about anywhere from 10 to 14 days from now. And that lag time is what gives this big disconnection in terms of, our feedback, so to speak, our feedback from our actions. And that's part of the strength of this virus, is that it takes advantage of that lag time. The lag time where you think you don't have it, you've already been exposed, you already probably having you're already shedding the virus before you're even symptomatic, and so it preys on that fact. And so we, as we're supposed to be much smarter than this virus, and so we have to remind ourselves that there's this lag here, and that we have to be still extremely vigilant in what we do. And just because there's a few cases that come up positive, from the day before or what have you, that's because we did good stuff 2 weeks ago. And when you see a spike up in cases, that's probably because we relaxed 2 weeks ago.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's where you were right when you were saying it's the feedback from our actions, and it's really why you guys are stressing and why everyone's stressing that you need to. It's a simple thing: stay home.
It's so easy, Doc. And I mean, you talk about the roller coaster. 17 positive cases, 1 positive case, 8 positive cases, 1 positive case. That's why I don't think. I mean, you can't sit there and say like, oh, man. I mean, I want people to be hopeful, but I think that we just need to continue to hunker down. I wanted to ask you something, Doc. With this message of hope and Easter coming up, what I'm really worried about is people hearing that voice that, oh yeah, it's we're doing our part, we're flattening the curve, let's go get together for Easter.
Yeah.
How worried about that are you guys?
I definitely am. I have this tremendous worry about that when we as human beings definitely want to we need some sort of positive reinforcement, and sometimes with that it comes from our relationship with others and what we want to do to kind of unite and celebrate some of our victories and just really be. But then that's the whole thing, is that's actually what is the pointed edge of this new reality that we have, and that if we do that, then we're only going to hurt ourselves further, and so that's the tough part here.
Right. The way I want to say it, Doc, is imagine this is a football game, right? I understand that some of the doctors, they want to pat the people of Guam on the back. So if you guys want to think that we just kicked a field goal and spiked the ball or whatever, that's fine. But the game is still on.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the last thing you want to do is pick up a fumble recovery and start running back to the other side of the end zone and start celebrating before you even cross the goal line, and then then somebody strips the ball, right out of your hand before you cross. And,
right.
And so, or worse, you just drop the ball. And so, that's the thing, in this process. And I'll just, since we're using, football analogies, one of the things that, there was, especially in the United Kingdom, they actually considered this, when time's running out and you're behind and you're behind by only about, 4 points, so to speak, and the offense, the other team has the ball. One thought might be just let them score so you can get the ball back and then score and be able to convert or something along those lines. So the United Kingdom thought about actually just closing everything else except the schools, and let the schools continue. And it was a way saying that the kids are much more healthier. We're seeing that they're more resilient, and that they can actually immediately provide herd immunity for the entire community. The criticism was that you're sacrificing the kids for the betterment of the community, and that was extremely controversial. After Boris Johnson got COVID himself, obviously everything changed after that, and then they retracted that strategy and they changed. But the thing is that we can say kids are resilient, but we just don't know. This virus has so many things about it that is changing and unknown overall.
Okay, so I'm not sure about all this football analogies, but
Come on,
I wanted to. I am a football fan.
Yeah, I know.
But I wanted to get on to the game plan that you guys are going to be talking about tonight with the physicians advisory group and these rapid test kits that Dr. Hoa Win was talking about. Can you shed more light on that? Yeah,
absolutely. So so let's just remind everyone that there's mainly 2 modalities. There's 2 ways to test. And so we have the PCR, and I'll just say it simply as just the PCR test, and that currently is our gold standard. That's the one that's the best test that we have available, and that's the one that public health is running on a daily basis. That's where we get our results from. And then you have this other test called serology, and basically serology just looks at, and these are where the rapid tests come from. they basically look at is your immune system responding to exposure to the virus. The problem with these two different tests is that the timings of them are completely different. And saying that they're completely correct, first of all, and that let's say they're reporting the correct what's reality in a certain patient, is that there's a different time. In other words, you could have the virus and it could be picked up on the PCR, but your immune system may not have responded enough for us to be able to test and see if it has. So that's what Dr. Wen was actually trying to explain there, was that there's this differences and overlap. And so what if you get a negative PCR but a positive serology? What if you get a negative serology and a positive PCR? So putting that together is very, very difficult, and it's something that's difficult for even doctors to really grasp and really get a hold of what is interpreting these test results.
That's why we just got to stay home, right, Doc?
Absolutely. Stay home. Safer at home is the key part here. And one of the things that we've been discussing heavily, and that's kind of going back to this understanding of herd immunity, and that really it's more about the more people that are out, that are allowed to be out, are those that have already are immune to the virus, and that's either because they've already had it or because there's a vaccine. Vaccine's not, it's about a 12 months away from now. Let's just be realistic about it. And that's even sped up from 18 months, which is usual for a vaccine. Mm-hmm. The herd immunity, and Dr. Wen also pointed out that when you ask him straightforward, the question is, in terms of if you get the virus once, is that good? Are you good? And could you get it again? The answer is we actually don't really know the answer to that question. We think it's going to be typical of other infections, but we can't say that for sure. So that's a major gamble. We start going down that road and just assuming everybody that's had it is definitely immune to it. Mm-hmm. But we'll know more. So those are the things that are going to be discussed during the meeting tonight, and even the meeting before the meeting, and try and figure out literally there is, because there's a subcommittee specifically for testing, right. and it's going to be kind of guidelines and a flow chart, I would think, that will be developed so that can help guide people and especially clinicians in how to go about and how do we allocate these resources, and then add into the confusion or the complications that these tests that we're talking about are the ones that at least are coming on Guam first are going to be the non-FDA approved ones, and so how do you deal with that?
Right.
Mm-hmm. I did want to ask about the 31 recoveries, and I was just curious, how long does it take? Like, if I were to get COVID-19, how long does it take for me to get better? If I don't have any comorbidities or anything like that.
Sure. So if you don't have any comorbidities and you feel fine, and the average recovery time is it's considered around 11 days or so, and that's for full recovery. You could start testing negative before that. In terms of the PCR test, I should be very specific about that. That it could start being negative before that, but so about 11 days is what we're seeing. So that's why we're also talking about the 10 to 14 day lag time that we see in some of these numbers here. So that's what is typical, which is why the 14-day quarantine also is why you hear that number a lot.
Okay, Chris, you.
I'm good, Doc. We got Dave Delasola. A lot of people wondering about unemployment. I just want to thank you so much for your time, Doc. And you got our number. Keep us posted.
Absolutely. Yeah. You have a good morning. And thank you for everything you guys do. You guys are a big part of this battle, and we appreciate everything you do.
Thank you, Doc.
We appreciate you. Thanks, Doc.
And happy Easter. Okay.
Happy Easter. Wash your hands.
Yeah.
He wanted to beat you to it.
There you go, Doc. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
All right. Bye.